I got a problem with my speech. What is and not any right. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I decided to do something a little bit different and move a tiny bit away from finances. So today's topic is going to be all about Brexit. I'm not going to cover everything today because this topic is huge. But I am going to talk about how it is going to affect us young people directly and what I think is important for you guys to know about the whole topic. So let's begin.
So on Thursday the 23rd of June 2016, over 30 people had voted for the UK to leave the European Union.
The vote was won by 51.9% of people voting to leave against 48.1% of people voting to remain. So the European Union, also known as the EU, is a political and economic partnership between 28 European countries. So after the World War II, they basically decided to come together and join as a single market in economy. They figured that by trading amongst each other and doing business together, then that would kind of stop any war from happening between those countries. They have their own currency, as you know, the euro. The European Union have a parliament as well as their own set of rules. So the EU and the UK were in a constant battle amongst each other. They were always arguing. There was always things that we weren't negotiating with. So when David Cameron got re-elected as president in May 2015, he basically tried to work on the renegotiation of the relationship between the EU and the UK. And he basically decided, why not set up a referendum in which the people can vote whether we want to become an independent country or we want to continue abiding by the rules of the EU. No deal Brexit is literally, we've left the European Union with nothing. We've got no deals in place, no negotiations as to where we're going to go moving forward. And we're basically on our own in this nice little bubble of shit. So as you guys may have seen on the news, Theresa May has not been able to secure a deal with the European Union as of yet. And what is happening is we keep extending Brexit basically, because if we leave without a deal, that is detrimental. We're basically pissed. The main point of the UK and the EU having a deal in place before we leave from the EU is basically to make sure that it's a smooth transition for everybody. Individuals and businesses. The whole purpose of that is to allow them to have some time to figure out a permanent trading relationship. The ideal Brexit will be that we've set up really good deals with the country still. We've got good lengths of time to get everything done in. Everyone's on board and in process. And it just all turns out to be a really smooth and natural and gradual process. Long ago, when the EU established an effective parliament, they created a formal process called Article 50. Any country that would want to leave the European Union would have to under this Article 50. Once a country does leave under Article 50, she then loses their rights to participate in EU discussions about that country's withdrawal. Relating it back to the UK, Theresa May had announced that she intended to invoke Article 50 by the end of March. So at that point, we had now declared formally that we are leaving the EU and we are now beginning to undergo this legal process. Now that we have done that, we no longer will have rights to be involved in EU discussions about our withdrawal. We're finished. If we do not negotiate acceptable trading between ourselves and the EU, we could potentially be taxed really heavily on our trade. That is going to really affect small businesses, and the reason why that I think is going to affect us as young people is because the trend of young people wanting to branch out and become self-employed is forever on the increase. In general now, us as young people, we don't want to leave uni and go and work for somebody else. We are constantly working on doing our own thing and starting up our businesses and planning things in the future. So it's just important for you guys to know that if we really do end up in a sticky situation, that it will be really hard to start up businesses and as well as maintain businesses that some of us might already have, whether it be things like food, whether it be clothing lines, where we get our material from, etc, etc. Another way that Brexit is going to affect us as young people is those that are interested in doing degrees in which you are required to travel. Something like Brexit and leaving without a deal could affect our ability to travel around Europe as freely. You've got to remember that as a course, this is something that is funded, and it might be, I don't know, this is not facts by the way, this is me putting out thoughts for you guys to think about, but those interested in studying a course that requires you to travel, it would be really worth now having a look into what your course will consist of. This will apply to people that are looking to do a gap year. If you have indefinite leave to remain, you still will not have to have a visa to travel in Europe. However, that will only go up to 90 days. If you're looking for something a bit more permanent, that's when things can become a little bit hard. If you are sitting here and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, without having any knowledge of what is actually going on in our country, then best believe you me, it's not going to be a very pretty surprise. Another way in which us young people can really get affected by Brexit, I would say this is quite short term at the moment, but healthcare. Because right now there's so much uncertainty on our trading negotiation, not only is it a case of will we still have the NHS? Will we still have access to the right medicine? You have to look, if you are interested in doing a medical degree, you have to look at how that's going to change. If you want to study something such as nursing, how likely is it going to be that you're going to be able to get into those fields during placement and things like that when you're going to need the experience? What makes it certain that we're going to have supplies to use at universities and for research purposes if we don't even have the supplies to save people right now? If employment rates start dropping in our country, the first people that are going to suffer is graduates. I'm going to call it economic volatility. Look at the risk on our currency right now. Unfortunately, a recession is possible. Businesses are becoming tighter on who they need. You might be sitting there thinking, oh, but we're really cheap to hire. At that point in a recession, when a big business is looking at its options, it's going to pick someone that's been in the company for 30 years, that knows everything that they're doing, as opposed to someone that's just starting out in the field. Graduates are just really at risk of not being able to find jobs as it is, let alone if the country is facing underemployment. Another thing that I want to discuss is the topic of immigration. People are like, they come in and take our jobs. No, they don't. If anything, we're the biggest and best opportunity to start emerging businesses. You know, we fuel the economy, we invest into the economy, make it richer. You want to sit there and say,
The reason why we want to leave the EU is because we don't want no immigrants.
well, guess what's going to happen? By tightening immigration controls, people are just not going to want to do their business in the UK or expand it here. You've got abroad businesses that are constantly investing into the UK market, that are constantly trying to expand their businesses, open up businesses here. How on earth is that going to be possible? How are we going to develop as a country, and how are we going to continue to grow and make more money? I don't know. You tell me. One of the ways in which I believe we will be affected greatly is the uncertainty on the housing market. So I've just said it's looking likely that something to do with our currency is going to really go a bit wrong. The pound is going to depreciate from what I can predict. Nevertheless, that is going to cause uncertainty in the housing market, which is only going to make it that much harder for us as young people to get on the property ladder, to get a mortgage. As well, if you're looking at investing in property when you're older, it's something that now we have to be very careful of, because we do not know what's going on with the property market. I've really done everything in my power to release this video in time, because I think it's very important that we're very clued up. If the news hasn't made sense to you so far, then hopefully this video will clear up some stuff. I'm not into politics at all, but what I do think is important is that myself, as well as you guys, do realise just the importance of what is going on in our country. As well, if you guys have reason to believe that you think it's really good that we are leaving, then please let me know, because I genuinely, in all my research, I found it really hard to find rationale for why we decided to leave in the first place. I'm willing to educate and elevate myself. That's all from me for today. Hopefully after this you are able to go away with an understanding of what Brexit is. I'm sorry that it's not been a fun and I do know that this video is not one of the most exciting topics. However, I genuinely believe it is so important that you guys are aware of what is to come literally any minute. That's it from myself, guys, and I will see you next Sunday as always.